think that picture's here. Yeah, like that. And he grabs this thing that I was showing a moment ago, and he puts it between himself and the bug like it was some kind of a magnifying glass. And then he starts imitating all the sounds of this computer-like device, and clicking and whirling and so forth. And the screen lights up to show him the inside of this bug. He starts telling me about it. Right? And he called it his radar helper. That he meant by radar helper was that it made this beam that went into whatever it was that he was interested in, and like radar echoed back and described to him whatever it is he was interested in. He said, I can point it at telephone poles or at stars. I can point it at anything, and it will give me the sounds, and on the little screen there, it will show me the pictures, and that's what it's all its little antennas and handles and everything were. And we had never talked about what I'm doing. Right? And so it really stunned me. That's what that article starts off with, is that story. Anyway, so Darren has a number of different kind of interfaces. And there's another interface entirely different than this one, which we call the KID interface, which we may have time to show, which is a conversational companion for kids operating computers in the game, play, and create mode rather than in the travel through learning space mode, even though they're related. But I don't know if we'll have time to get into that. But yeah, there's a number of different interfaces that Darren has requested that I design for him. So, let's see. So that was the nonlinear navigation. The idea being that, oops, I got to go back one more. Just going to load Yoda again.
I am wondering, why are you here?
Back to gravity. The interface is such that not only can I travel in past representation space, I can travel in past reference space. If we come down here, for example, and click on this, these are the different references we've looked at. So if I say, geez, there was something in Einstein's biography that was really interesting, I want to go back and check it real quick, I can jump back in my own past travel by theme, by subject, or I can travel back in my own representation space, or I can use the system to generally navigate, or I can use the system to change representations, or I can use the system to just step ahead. And I can do it all very simply. There's not that many tenets involved, and as I said, having studied the way children have used games, this is a big no-brainer for them. It may be confusing to you and me at times, but it's not for them. Yeah.
Esa puede ser parte de la razón porque alguna gente parece feliz, no importa lo que hagan, mientras otros tienen problemas encontrando un trabajo que los satisfaga, dijo psicólogo industrial Richard Harvey.
So representationally or referentially, the same thing, the same principles apply to different languages. I mean, if you think about it, it's no big extension that if we can do it, I mean, a different representation is a different language. A different reference on a word could be a different language. So the same structure will mediate a multitude of different languages. And so you start to see that what we're doing is creating this, what we call relevancy bubble. Right? A relevancy bubble. What we want the learner to be is center of a relevancy bubble that's constantly adapting to maintaining support around their movement. And that might be multiple languages, it might be multiple representations, it may be all kinds of different references, but that needs to form around them as they move, and that's what this is designed to do. Now, let's jump back to, there's a lot of this that, we'll try it. There's a lot of stuff in here that is pretty sophisticated for adults. It's pretty simple for kids, but it's pretty sophisticated for adults. One of them is the compass setting. See this here? In addition to all the other things that we've described so far, one of the features of the system, and I don't have this set up for little kids right now. This has got dials on it that really doesn't, it's actually a little more adult. But this is a tuning system that sits in the background of the way the interface can travel in learning space. And it will allow you to adjust for the biases that you have, both in terms of mediation, mode, density of information, and scope with respect to context. Right? It's like trim tabs on an airplane, you know? It'll also allow us to do some mechanical things like set up a automatic reference dump so that if I know that I'm primarily in a research mode that requires me to have elaborate information, if I preset quick references to encyclopedia whenever I ask for something, if it's got an encyclopedia, it'll just automatically dump it instead of a two-step. Because we're really concerned with that relationship dynamic being fast enough for a learner to feel, yeah, I want to follow through on everything that's going on, rather than suppress it because the world won't respond. Bilingual operations will be the same thing, that if somebody has a particular language preference, this would be the automatic cut for that. So that if somebody goes to the alternative language logo, it would default to which one of those when multiple languages become available on a reference level and on a representation level. The collector's case. Now, anytime I come across something that I think is important, I can grab it, like I just did. Excuse me, I need the keyboard now. For a lot of this, you don't need the keyboard, you notice? Notice that the collector's case has 6 different little cavities. And if I want to, I can change which cavity I put things in like that. Right? So that I collect things in different categories. Like any good, well, let me turn it back on. Notice that it went from a question mark in a magnifying glass to a little highlighter. Right? So I say I want to collect that, and I did. So I can go back to the collector case, and these are the 2 things I had things put into. This is the one. I can name it whatever I want to. I can elect to expand it and look at it, type it, print it, file it, or trash it. Do the same thing with any one of these. So I've got, it's as if while the learner's traveling, he's got 6 different highlighters, right? And behind them are 6 different tanks that these things kind of overflow whenever they're using them into, which they can then edit and do whatever they want to, and file it or trash it or print it, and so forth, depending on what they're connected to. In the final analysis, everything that runs on here will be created by learners. We just haven't, we need to get to that, but yeah.